Member for Darling Range.
Thank you, Speaker. I too want to join my colleagues in supporting the amendment moved by the member for Dawesville. I just want to remind the House what that amendment is, and that is and this House condemns the McGowan Labor government for failing to put more police on the streets, failing to address the meth crisis as promised, and allowing crime to spiral out of control. And I apologise for my voice in advance to Hansard. Yeah, not enough Sherbies. This amendment is actually crucial and one that should not be ignored by the government. As members of parliament, we all put community surveys out to our community and we ask for feedback. What is their number 1, 2, 3, 4 issues in their community that matters to them? And I can tell you the one that keeps coming back over and over and over, the top 2 issues in our community is cost of living and crime and community safety. Crime and community safety is always at the top of people's mind, whether it's for themselves, whether it's for their children, whether it's for their grandparents, whether it's for their business. Crime and safety is one of the biggest issues that every Western Australian cares about. So that is why this amendment is on there. This amendment is there to focus this government on an area that they have been neglecting. I just wanted to add the Premier in his statement today at the end, and it's not a quote because we don't have Hansard, but I'll paraphrase, and I'm sure it was something along the lines of, "This government is just getting started." This government is just getting started. The member for Dawesville said it was 1,061 days in government and you only have 396 days left. So if you're only just getting started after 1,061 days, I don't see you being warmed up within 396 days that are left, let alone actually achieving anything. So it is very scary to think that the Premier thought his closing line in his statement should be, "This government is just getting started," as they're heading into the last year of their term. The people of Western Australia expected you to be getting started the day you were elected, not 1,061 days later. So to me, the Premier needs to come in here. The community deserves an apology that he has been asleep at the wheel by his own admission that he's only just getting started in the last year of his term. I think it's appalling, absolutely appalling. What this government has not done is they've not supported our police officers, they've not supported our small business community, they've not supported the staff that work in our businesses, they've not supported our community in safety and in crime, and they've not supported those in real need, and they are those that are homeless in our CBD who are suffering and they need help with drugs addiction, they need help with getting home, and they need help in getting their life back on order. This government, who's just getting started, has failed. They've failed our police officers. They have failed to stand behind them and give them the support that they promised to give them at the last election. They've not given them the pay rise they promised they would give. They've not given them the backing that they promised they would give, and they're not giving them the support by giving more police officers on the beat. The member for Hillary's quoted a figure that we're 40 officers down this year compared to last year. 40 officers down. We had the member for the North West Central quoting that in regional WA, they're 95 officers down in regional WA. So here we have a government who says we're about delivering more police officers, we're about promoting and supporting our police officers, but where's the proof in the pudding? There is no proof in the pudding because they're only just getting started to do their job. So when we have our small business communities, our communities in regional WA, our families and our seniors, whose number 1 issue is crime and safety, and we see a reduction in police officers and we see a reduction in support of our police officers, we know that this government is not delivering. We know they have failed the people of Western Australia. It's all well and good to stand there in photo ops with the police officers taking the glory when the drugs have taken in from a drug haul and confiscated. That's great. But you know who did the work? The police officers did the work. They worked hard to actually track those drugs down, find them, get them, lock the people away and stop those drugs going on the street. But what do we see? We see a minister who takes a photo opportunity to stand there and go, aren't we doing a great job? But in the meantime, we're not resourcing the officers. We're not putting more cops on the beat and we're not helping them do their job properly. As the quote was also used, I think, by also the member for North West Central, we're asking them to do less with more. We're asking them to do more with less. So we're asking our officers to do overtime, but we're giving them less money to do that. Give them the time, give them the money, give them more officers to get out there on the street and protect our communities. One of the biggest issues facing our small business community is retail crime. Retail crime has had a spike of 37%. And retail crime also puts another cost on our small business community. Our small businesses are already doing it tough. Our small businesses already have their backs to the wall. With the increase of cost of living, they've got less customers coming through their door. Then they've got retail crime spikes of 37%. People coming in, stealing their goods, antisocial behaviour, which is keeping customers away from their door, staff's being threatened, staff turning up to an unsafe workplace. What do we have a government doing? Having less officers on the beat. Less officers on the beat to tackle this spike in retail crime. We saw a Band-Aid fix. A Band-Aid fix where they put some more officers into the CBD over the Christmas festive season for the light walk, the Christmas light walk. So they didn't actually employ new officers, they just dragged them from another area, put them in the CBD. What does that then do? That leaves our other areas in WA, in the state, vulnerable because those police officers have been pulled off their normal area of duty, pulled into the CBD to do a Band-Aid fix for the CBD so people can walk around and feel safe to look at the Christmas lights. But once that's over, they're back to their job and the city goes back and returns to the way it was with less officers on the beat. I spent time walking around the CBD before Christmas, talking to small business operators and larger chains to find out how the feeling was out there. Apart from seeing the for lease signs up on windows, shop after shop on Hay Street Mall, knowing that our office buildings in the high-rises were empty, the antisocial behaviour and the homelessness asleep on Hay Street Mall, Murray Street Mall, within our foyers of our businesses was turning people away. It was in the middle of the day and we've got people laying there fast asleep in the front of our shop entries. I've spoke to a few staff and the staff's biggest issue was that they don't feel safe at work. There was one gentleman from Oh My God Coffee, OMG Coffee, and he actually rocks up to work early so he can get there before his one other staff member because he knows it's unsafe for her to walk into the business and unlock because the homeless people are using his shop front as a shelter at night time. When he took on that business, he was actually overwhelmed with how many people were sleeping out the front of his business. He felt unsafe. He was then parking on the side of the road at the front of his shop at 5:30 in the morning to get in there so he felt safe. He had a vehicle as his backup to go in there and try and move these homeless people on. Some would get aggressive. So what did he do? He knew he couldn't get any help. He then thought the best way to do is help these people. So he started giving them coffee and food in turn of them moving on, leaving the street. So he could then open his business and get customers. $300 to $400 a week for a coffee shop, that is a big chunk out of his profit, if there's any left for him at the end of the week. That is a big chunk. And he's working from 5:30 in the morning to late in the afternoon, dealing with homeless people sleeping out the front who he's then got to feed and give coffee to coax them away from his door. His customers would not come to his door until they were moved. So he was kind of like stuck between a rock and a hard place. He's actually a very nice guy. Al, his name is, very nice bloke. And he said, look, they're human beings and we've got to do what we can do, but I can't afford to keep doing this. Was there any assistance for him? No. Were the police moving these people on? No. Did the police have somewhere to move them onto? No. Were there enough police on the street to actually act on this? No. So what we're seeing is a government who's not supporting a small business owner who's getting up, leaving home, employing staff to have a coffee shop, having to then take it on himself to pay these homeless people to move on. It was getting so bad, and he started telling his customers, and small business people are very innovative and they think outside the square, and he came up with an idea, pay it forward campaign. And he actually got his customers to start donating coffees or toasties into the fund to help him pay for these homeless people to move from his shop front. West Australians are very generous. So that seems to be working quite well for him. But as a business owner, that shouldn't be up to him to tackle. That shouldn't be his problem, and that owner should not be sitting on him. That should be a place for the government of the day, working out a problem and fixing it. Resourcing our police officers so they can pick these people up and move them on to the place that they need to go to for help, for services, and to get a roof over their head. I'm not saying pick them up and throw them in jail. I'm saying pick them up and take them to where they can get help. But don't leave the issue there for small businesses to have to find a solution so they can just keep their doors open every day. So while I was out there talking, it wasn't just this one, and I do tell tell members, if you're looking for a good coffee, he makes a mean coffee on Pier Street, OMG Coffee, so please go there and check him out and help sponsor his campaign. That'll be a great way of maybe members actually helping small businesses. But we also got, when I was out there, I was talking to other stores, and one was Mecca. Now, I asked a question in Parliament last year of the Minister, saying, are you aware that the Mecca store chain is closing down in Hay Street? His answer to me was, don't be silly, they've opened up round the corner, you don't know what you're talking about, it's actually not my problem, why are you asking me? That's a problem for the Minister for Police. He actually deflected any responsibility of actually supporting or dealing with business. Now, I know he's the Minister for more than just small business, but he doesn't seem to look after the business portfolio at all. So he should then put his tourism hat on and be supporting businesses to support our tourism people who are walking through our city, seeing the standard that it is at the moment, the safety, the antisocial behaviour. So when I was talking to some Mecca staff, they said their fears for staff, and I'm quoting from now a news article that was in the West Australian on the 19th of October. Fears for staff safety have prompted one of Australia's largest beauty retailers to shut their shop in Hay Street Mall. Staff at the Mecca Cosmetica said the store near the corner of Barrack Street and Hay Street would not be renewing its lease next quarter because of antisocial behaviour near their business. Now, the staff I spoke to there said the people would come in, they would cause havoc in the shop, they would threaten the staff, abuse the staff, and then they would steal goods and leave. These staff said, we're retail. We don't come to work to put up with this. We do not come to work to feel unsafe. We come to work to earn our award rate as a retail shoppie. We need to get our money. We are happy to do our job, but we don't come to work to be abused and put up with the antisocial behaviour. Their customers come in, getting abused and leave. So to the Minister, when he actually said they're opening around the store, he needs to know his cosmetics. It's a completely different store and a completely different product, and they've actually shut that store and they've moved out of Hay Street. What we are seeing is large chains moving out of our CBD and going to our shopping precincts for a number of reasons, but one of them is the antisocial behaviour and the safety for their staff. Now, as a government, the role of government is to provide community safety. The role of government is to provide an environment for businesses to thrive so they can employ staff. not to create an environment where staff feel unsafe to go to work, customers feel unsafe to go to the shop, and the business starts losing money. That is the wrong environment, and that is the environment that this government is delivering for our small businesses and our retailers. I just want to go on to saying one of the other places was Valley Girl, a fashion chain opposite Mecca Cosmetica on Hay Street Mall, and the staff there said again, and I'm quoting from the same article, we're targeted a lot as well. They come in and call us names. The story's pretty along so often. I don't know if that's right. We don't see the thefts until it's too late, but then when we do, they get quite aggressive. I don't want to get punched at work on my job. I don't want to get punched at work on my job. This is what people are doing, going into the city in retail, feeling fear that they're actually going to get punched at work. So of course they're not going to stop anybody from stealing. Another one was Tempt. A staff member revealed it was not just the businesses near the corner of Barrack and Hay Street that get hit. They get targeted a lot, with people sometimes coming in and abusing them or their customers, being obnoxious, or just sit outside the shop and discourage customers coming in. These stories are happening over and over, and I just want to point out that it's not just within our CBD. Armadale, the city of Armadale, is having exactly the same problem. Giles Street in Armadale, it is the hub of the shopping retail sector of Armadale. The business owners there are getting the same problem. These are family businesses, mum and dad businesses, and they've got the same problem with antisocial behaviour, kids and young adults on drugs, threatening their customers, coming into the shop, abusing the staff and robbing from the shop. Retail crime is a real issue for businesses, and until this government realises that you cannot keep taking advantage of our business community, we are never going to see our economy change. Our economy starts with our small businesses. They employ nearly 50% of our private sector employees in WA. They need to thrive so they can continue to keep employing people. They don't thrive, they don't employ people, we have a downward spiral. And the business confidence right now in WA is at an all-time low. Business confidence is at a low. Retail confidence is at a low. WA is the worst retail trader in the country. We need to do something about it, and it starts with cleaning up our streets. It starts with getting people off the street, reducing crime and making people feel safe. Back in, I think it was end of July, we all went out to Kalgoorlie and visited the member for Kalgoorlie, and I took the time there also to walk Kalgoorlie retail strip and talk to the businesses there. Not only was every third shop was open, the other two were closed with for lease signs on it. The biggest issue facing those customers, antisocial behaviour and retail crime. They have a team that walk around in their purple, what are they called, Member for Kalgoorlie? The council rangers. They walk around trying to keep the streets safe because the police don't have the resources. So we have the local council now having rangers walking the street because the police don't have the manpower to do their job. Now, we're having them walking in and they're so blatant, they know that they can steal up to $500 without getting too much of in trouble. They get a slap on the wrist and sent out again. So they don't get charged under $500. So they walk in and they're blatant. They're walking around calling out $100, $200, $400, $500 and out they go. This is killing our small businesses. It is, it's teaching them arithmetic, but it's killing our small businesses. So when the Premier says today that the government is just getting started, well, obviously, because the retail crime, the theft and antisocial behaviour that has got worse under this government is disgraceful, and you should all be hanging your head in shame. Just getting started 1,061 days later, with only 396 days left, I don't hold much hope for the community of Western Australia on you actually getting absolutely anything done whatsoever until the election. You may go out there and try and buy a few votes, but can I tell you, members, a little too late. a little too late. People will remember that you did nothing for 1,061 days. You're just getting started, as the Premier said himself. People will remember.
Thank you, Member.